Hey guys! Today's video is all about brand rep and affiliate best practices. Now, my Instagram account isn't super huge, but I have and still do serve as a rep and affiliate for numerous brands and companies, so I just wanted to share my top 5 best practice tips with you all in case you were thinking about repping in the future, or even if you're repping now. Before we dive in, I just wanted to say that all the repping I've done so far has been on Instagram, in exchange for free products rather than monetary compensation. These tips are pretty general, so I'm sure that they can be applied to repping for money, but I just wanted to let you know that I have zero experience repping for monetary compensation, so if you were hoping for tips and advice in that regard, I apologize, I'm probably not the person to help you there. All my repping so far has involved companies sending me products for free so that I can read or wear their products and provide honest reviews, honest feedbacks, and promotions. And with that being said, let's dive in. Tip number 1, do your research. Whether you're wanting to reach out to a brand or company or they're the ones reaching out to you, do your research first. You want to make sure you're compatible. Do you use their products or do you use products similar to theirs? Is their target audience the same as your target audience? Do you take the quality of shots that they're looking to use in their promotions? Or if you're not compatible, are you able to offer something, whether that be an untapped target audience or a different aesthetic, etc., that you think could help them, and are you able to provide the rationale to help pitch your case? Doing your research will also help you make sure that they are legit. This is for safety as well as ethical purposes. Usually this partnership will involve them sending you things, and that means you're going to have to give them either your mailing address or at the very least your email address, and so you want to make sure that you're giving that private information to a legitimate source. You also don't want to be promoting something that's not legit. It's your reputation on the line, and you also don't want to be part of scamming anyone, even inadvertently or accidentally. Now, doing your research comes in various forms. You can start by looking at the company's website as well as their social media pages. That means Instagram, Tumblr, Facebook, Twitter, etc. You can ask yourself, is this company posting regularly? Has there been a lull in their posting? And if so, do they explain why? Do they provide a reason for not being relatively up to date with their customers and clients? Are other reputable bookstagrammers or influencers repping for them? Does the company keep their clients and customers apprised on a regular basis? You should also check reviews and comment sections to see what other people are saying about this company. What are people commenting on the company's posts? Are their clients generally happy? Or are you seeing comments like, I didn't get my subscription box that I ordered and I emailed you a bunch of times and I still haven't heard a response? Those types of things aren't necessarily make or break, but it should be a red flag. One of my own personal examples that involves doing research had to do with one of my very first rep experiences. When I was first starting out on Instagram, a pretty big publishing company reached out to me and offered me a chance to rep for them. They would send me free books, and in exchange, I would provide my honest reviews. I was simultaneously very excited and very skeptical. This was a huge company that I loved, and I was a very small Instagram account, so why would they want me? Spoiler alert, you do not have to be a big account to rep for a brand or company. Follower count is not the only thing they look for. But being the skeptical person that I am, I at the time didn't know how this whole repping thing worked. I was nervous. I had a hard time believing that they wanted little old me. And the company had some typos in their emails. Now, I was previously working in a field that dealt with the exchange of a lot of sensitive information, and I was trained to look for these types of typos and mistakes in emails and phishing emails, i.e. scam emails, to identify whether they're legitimate or not. So I was suspicious. Now, I'm not necessarily advocating you do this specifically when doing your research, but this is what I did because it was my first time, I didn't know how it worked, and I was a little bit paranoid. Instead of responding right away with a yes and my mailing address, I opened a new browser window. I didn't click any of the links in the email. I opened a new window and I Googled the name of the person that was sending me the email, and I found their office number as it was listed on the publishing company's official webpage, and I called them. Now, I hate making phone calls. Hate it. but not as much as I hated the thought of me potentially giving out my mailing address to a scammer. So I sucked it up, I made the phone call, had a very brief and nice conversation with the person on the other end of the line and at the other end of the computer, and everything checked out and I ended up repping for them. Also, as a side note, I'm sure you all know this, but just in case, do not, I repeat, do not give out your credit card information or your social security number over DMs or emails or anything like that. It's not safe, it's not secure, no one should be asking you for that information in a message. Just don't do it. You should also continue to do your research. I know this sounds like a lot of homework, but I learned this one the hard way. Another company I started repping for early on in my Bookstagram career was a book subscription box. And I did all the things that I had thought were enough. I looked at their website, I looked at their Instagram. They had other Bookstagrammers repping for them, and they were Bookstagrammers that I knew. They had big accounts. I looked up to them. They were not amateurs when it came to repping. So to me, at the time, everything seemed to check out, and so I gladly accepted their offer to become a rep. I repped a few boxes for them, and everything was fine. And I had seen they had put out a notice sometime around the holiday season just to let people know, like, hey, we're not going to be posting as much because we want to focus on getting these boxes out on time. And I thought, great, that's so nice of them to let us know. So a while goes by and still nothing, no word from them, but I wasn't too worried because, again, they said that this was going to happen. So I did my posts just as planned. And then all of a sudden I got a couple of very angry comments on that post for aiding in what these people clearly saw was a scam. And I pretty immediately felt sick to my stomach. It scared me, I was confused, I was nervous, I was embarrassed. I didn't know, for one, what they were talking about, but I did know that I didn't want to be a part of anything like that. I didn't want to be a part of scamming people, and I didn't want people to see me as that kind of person. So I revisited my research techniques that I mentioned earlier, and I started doing something that I had not been doing previously at the time. I started going back to their posts, and again, I was already repping for them for a while, but I hadn't been looking and keeping up with the comments on their photos. So now I went back to their posts and looked at the comments, and I saw a lot of angry customers and clients and a lot of comments about people paying for their boxes and not receiving their boxes and emailing the company and messaging the company and not hearing anything back. So at this point, I was feeling even more sick than I was previously. So I responded to those people that had initially commented on my posts. I thanked them for bringing it to my attention. I apologized. I said I didn't know what was going on, but I would try my best to get to the bottom of it. So I ended up emailing the company. I emailed them, I messaged them on Instagram DM. I didn't have a phone number or anything, but I did not have any luck getting responses. And I tried multiple times for a while, and so I couldn't get a hold of them. There was no update from them. Still all the comments were coming in, so I actually went to another Bookstagrammer that I knew was repping for them, and asked them if they knew or had heard anything about what was going on, if they had been in contact with the company, and they also had no clue this was happening. Me asking them about it was the first they'd heard. I then went back to every single one of my posts that I had did for this company, and I updated it with a new caption that basically explained what was brought to my attention, what, from my knowledge or lack thereof, what was happening. I apologized to my followers. I again thanked the followers that brought this to my attention, and then I just explained as best that I could what I tried to do in order to figure out what was going on, and just try to update everybody on what I knew of the situation, which was very little, unfortunately. And as far as I know, I think a little bit after that, the company's website just stopped working. I don't believe anyone got replies or their boxes, so I have no idea what happened there. Now, you'll notice for this second example, I did a lot of the research up front that I had suggested earlier, but what I did not do at the time was continue to do my research. I wasn't continuing to check on the company's activity. I didn't mainly look at their Instagram comments or the reviews of their boxes or anything like that. And if I had, I would have seen that there were a lot of unhappy customers, and that would have been a red flag. So you better believe that I do that now. Now, I'm not saying to police them. That's not what I'm saying. Don't do that. You're not the boss of them. What I am saying is to just be aware of their activity. If you haven't seen them posting for a while and maybe they didn't explain why, then just message them and check in. Or if you've been seeing some negative comments for some whatever reason, try to do some investigation and contact the company and see what's up there. Tip number 2, make sure you have the time and energy to be a good rep. This tip may seem like a no-brainer, but it's not something to be taken for granted. When brands and companies announce that they're looking for reps, they'll usually put out a list of what they're looking for in their reps. So they're telling you right up front what the rep requirements are and what they expect of their reps. Now, each company is different, but a lot of their requirements overlap. For instance, they want you to post their products or reviews a certain number of times per month. Sometimes they want you to include certain hashtags or phrases or tags within your post. Or some companies might even want you to participate in brainstorming and honest feedback about their products in closed sessions that you don't necessarily promote, but you're part of the thinking process. So you want to make sure that you do in fact have the time to do all those things. Especially when you start to rep for multiple companies at the same time, it can become a bit of a juggling act. And we all have our own lives outside of Instagram and YouTube and Facebook and social media, but you want to make sure that if you agree to be their rep, you want to make sure that you're doing right by the company. You want to make sure that you're doing what you agreed to do, but you also want to make sure that you're doing right by yourself. You know your limits, you know what you can do, don't stretch yourself too thin. Check in with yourself to make sure that you personally are doing okay, which means you can say no. Like I said, you know your limits. You're the one that knows what's going on in your life, how much homework you have, what your workload's like, what your familial obligations are. Trust me, I understand wanting to participate in everything, especially when it's things that you love, and I understand wanting to get your name out there, especially in an increasingly competitive atmosphere like Instagram. But you also want to make sure that you're putting your best work out there and taking care of yourself. Now, I'm not saying you can't do it all. I'm just saying that only you know what you're capable of doing at any given time. And if sometimes that requires saying no to a rep or affiliate offer, it's okay. Again, you want to do right by the company that you'd be repping for, but you also want to do right by yourself. So if a company reaches out to you, and if for some reason you don't think you're capable of putting your best work forward for that company, then it is okay to politely decline. Tip number 3, conduct yourself professionally. Be respectful, be kind, be professional. When I'm repping or being an affiliate for a company, I try to conduct myself like this is a job. For a lot of these companies, this business that you're helping them with is their main source of income. It is literally their job, and you are helping them to promote that business. Now, I may not be getting paid with money for doing this, but they are sending me free things, which for them is their time and their money because it's their product. So I take that seriously. Now, to note, I'm not saying that just because they're sending me free things that I'm going to cater all my reviews to be positive towards their products. If I view that product to be positive, then great, I will say so. But if for some reason the review is negative, then I will also say so. But more on that later. Back to professionalism, especially when you're contacting or replying to these companies for the first time. In my experience, the first line of communication is either via email or Instagram direct message, and that's basically the company's first impression of you. So you really want to make sure that you're conducting yourself professionally. You want to use full and complete sentences and proofread all your messages. Now, in regards to using the full sentences, you can always adjust your communication style appropriately once you get a sense and a feel for that company's communication style. But for the first email or message, it's best to err on the side of caution and leave out all the acronyms and abbreviations and jargon that we've grown so accustomed to on the internet. And you should always proofread your messages before hitting send. Which brings me to tip number 4, communicate. If you have questions, don't be afraid to reach out to these companies and ask them. I'm not saying you have to talk to them every week or be best friends with them. I mean, if they're into that and you're into that, then great, but that's not what I'm saying. I mean, if you have a question or you want clarification on something, then just send them a message and ask. And on the opposite side of that, if they're messaging you, make sure you respond. Again, we all have lives, we all get busy, just don't leave them hanging. It's professional to respond. And again, proofread those messages. Last but not least, tip number 5, be honest and true to your values. This is for yourself and for your followers. If you are a rep or an affiliate, you influence people. People trust your opinion. They don't have to agree with you and you don't have to agree with them, but you do want to make sure that you're being honest with your opinions and your reviews. You may be getting free products, but you shouldn't feel like you have to lie about how you feel about those products. Just make sure you're being truthful, fair, and factual, and be honest with yourself and be honest with your followers, and stay true to your values. And that's it. Those are my top 5 best practice tips. If you have any tips or words of wisdom you'd like to share, please feel free to leave them down in the comments section. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, you can also check out my top 10 BookCon tips, which you can find right here. Until next time, bye!